I'd like to open the meeting with a roll call to go into executive session under reason number 3, to update the full committee on collective bargaining with the MTA, and to return to open session. Jen Blum. Here. Bob Clark.
Here.
Will Sankowitz.
Here.
Steve Sylvia.
Here.
John Burke. Here. Courtney Brightman. Not here. Carolina Hernandez. Not here. And Crystal not here. Okay.
This will be brief.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, quick.
I'm abstaining from the executive session. The committee's already had a roll call and opened the meeting. Additionally, Ms. Terry Fleming, Mr. Jack Higgins, and Ms. Kelly Steele are joining. Outside of Lakeville, is there anyone here recording the meeting tonight? Okay. Could you identify yourself, please?
Victoria Hamel, Freetown. Keila Churchill, Freetown.
Chris Thomas. Okay. Thank you very much. Could everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept minutes from the January 8th of this year committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Oh, John.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I'll entertain a motion to accept minutes from the meeting on October 9th of 2024.
Still moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hold
That's
on.
the executive.
I don't see them. Oh, here they are. Okay.
I don't have it either.
They're here.
deeper.
You have
Yeah,
it.
it's deeper in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
I think that was voted. Or I have a motion and a second
Your motion in a second. Yeah.
for the meeting of October 9th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. I'll entertain a motion to accept minutes for January 13th of this year.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained. I'll entertain a motion for executive session minutes approval from January 8th of this year.
Still moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Right, and finally, I'll entertain a motion to accept minutes from the executive session on December 18th of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Thank you, everyone.
I think we're all caught up now.
Yeah, caught up.
Yeah, we are.
Right. Our Aponequid student representatives, floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. A lot of new and interesting events have been going on at Aponequid recently. For instance, there have been many field trips allowing students to learn outside the classroom. Students in Model UN went to the United Nations headquarters on a tour and then to the Museum of Modern Art. They then walked around Times Square, and the drama club went to see the musical Hamilton in Providence.
Our 201 DECA students had a successful trip to Hyannis for the District 8 conference. They all competed in 2 role plays, resulting in 38 of our students qualifying for the state conference in Boston. 15 students made top 5 and are moving on to states. 23 students made top 3 and are moving on to states. Students in choir and band participated in SEMIA. 10 students made districts. This is a very high number, as larger schools often only have 1 to 3 students. They were able to rehearse with students from over 65 schools and perform in a Saturday concert.
In addition to field trips, exciting things are happening with the school. A new semester is starting, and we will be choosing classes and electives for the next school year in February.
I am looking forward to taking AP Literature because I enjoy reading and writing.
And I am looking forward to taking AP Calculus because I enjoy doing math.
On top of classes, we are also excited to be attending the Physics Olympics in April, with meetings starting this Friday. This is a great opportunity for us to put what we learn in physics class to action. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to move forward our public participation piece for the evening to this point in the meeting.
Still moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Before I open up the public comment period, I wanted to note that we have received emails and phone calls from community members regarding recent reports of a lawsuit involving a former employee of the district. We appreciate your concern and reiterate that student safety and well-being is our top priority. At this point, however, we are not able to make any public comment. I would like to open up public participation for this evening. Public participation shall be in accordance with district policy. Each speaker will be permitted a maximum of 3 minutes, during which time they can speak about topics listed on the school committee agenda for the evening. This section is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between or among citizens and the school committee. Rather, it is intended to offer citizens an opportunity to express their opinion on issues of school committee business. There is a sign-in sheet at the podium. We request that anybody here to participate, please go up to the podium to be addressed and kindly fill in the sign-in sheet.
Okay,
If you can, please start with your name and town, if you could.
sure. My name is Jessica Kudo, and I am from Freetown.
Thank you.
All right?
Welcome.
Excellent. Hi, everybody. Like I said, my name is Jessica Kudo. I'm the widow of Paul Kudo, who was a teacher here at FLMS for 17 years. Passed away 2 years ago of cancer, so it's a very interesting topic for me in particular. And I definitely have to say Mr. Strauss was very supportive as the new superintendent coming in, not knowing Paul, was supportive through our transition and Paul's passing and making sure we had all the benefits available to us as a teacher. One of Paul's very famous sayings, if you ever remember, if you have his memorial posting, is, "Character is who you are when nobody is looking." And I think that is extremely profound right now. I'm very disappointed with the behavior that is being exuded from the committee to the public. One of the things that I'm here is not to debate what has been said by who or what, or the lawsuit, or people's behaviors. What I'm here for is to implore not only the committee, our citizens of Freetown and Lakeville, but we need to change our bylaws. We are a united school district. We are a region. We are not separate towns anymore. And if Lakeville can have bylaws that give us the ability to control bad behavior, then Freetown needs to do the same. We cannot have a school committee with 2 separate operating systems and unite and do this. We are now in the news from September. Another newsletter or article came out about somebody on the school committee, And now we have another one from a recording, and names are being called out. And I personally would like to call out to Carlos Lopes and Deborah Petty as Freetown elected officials to help us change the bylaws immediately so that we can retro or recall effective today and in the past. We are not doing a service to our students, to our superintendents, or to our budget, or to ourselves if we do not fix these bylaws and work as a unit. Elected officials are supposed to represent themselves in a moral, ethical, and proper professional manner. And I do not believe that everybody on the school committee or the town of Freetown has done so. And it is upon you to put the pressure on the elected officials of Freetown to give you the ability to do what you need to do to represent our town in a better way. I'm embarrassed now because I don't know what type of superintendent you're going to be able to recruit here. I don't know what kind of teachers you're going to be able to recruit and retain, or families to come into this town, because it is embarrassing. And that character is not a good look right now for this entire school district, or Freetown, or Lakeville, for that matter. We elected you as officials to work together as a group and not set out an embarrassing tone. So I implore you, please, if you need to speak to Freetown people, if you need help, if you want to talk to the officials, we need to talk to the officials of Freetown as well, both Carlos and Ms. Petty, and we need to change the bylaws to make it available for you to control people's behavior and tactics and treat our children in the proper manner as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody additional?
So my name is Antonio Costa, resident of Freetown. I have 2 small children in the district. I don't have specific questions about the lawsuit, I understand that. I do have a parallel sort of question. Specifically, have any policies changed as a result of this lawsuit? If yes, which ones? If not, if none, why not? Has any mandatory training been instituted as a result? If yes, what type of training? If not, why not? Whoever's keeping minutes, I can rehash this with you afterwards. And, I'm sure it's on your radar, but I think it's worth saying out loud that, the parents of the district are expecting a formal follow-up in writing with everything that was missed and is being done as a result. And I guess finally, if someone, if possible, could explain to me, I have a preconceived notion of what mandatory reporting means. And if someone on the committee, are you willing and able to maybe provide a definition of what mandatory reporting means? Just so people, because I plugged in my own definition, and maybe my assumption doesn't line up with what that really means. That's open to anyone that's able to answer that.
Mr. Costa, I thank you for your questions. Please allow the committee to review those.
Oh, you can't give the definition of mandatory reporting?
Not at this time.
Does that mean the definition is not written down?
I don't have a comment on it at this time.
Okay.
I just have a request as you look forward to putting a committee together for a superintendent search, that there is members from the community that is not associated with the committees to be considered to be able to put an application, because I think at this point, I think the community's voice outside of the school system or the school committee is important. That is something that doesn't always happen, but can happen with searches. and I don't know if it's happened in the past with Lakeville or not, but I think it's important in today's climate that a voice is heard and an outside voice. You know, I think that's just good practice in general, but even more important right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you just please tell,
Oh, sorry, Melissa Ryan, Knowlton, Lakeville.
thank you. Okay, is there anybody else? Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for having me here tonight. First, I want to start with some questions for Will. Will, did you ever admit to having inappropriate or sexual encounters with a student?
I'm sorry, that's,
I'm going to ask the questions because it's my First Amendment right. Thank you. Did you ever use official school department or government emails or phone via text, inappropriate messages, text messages, or emails with students while employed in either a school, current, the current
I'll
school,
ask
former
you again
position,
kindly. That is not appropriate
Or in any
for this time
department.
of the meeting.
He is not allowed on school grounds due to his signed DESI contract. Every single one of you who defend him are just as guilty of allowing him on school grounds. If he was to sleep with another student like he has in the
I'll
past,
make a motion to adjourn right
This is
now.
not
it would come
appropriate.
down to a lawsuit.
I'll ask you to please stop your
And
public
to echo
participation.
what Ms. Kudo said, when it comes down to ethics and character and having our school district
Ms. Churchill?
and having
Kindly
our
ask
school
you to stop your
district
public
look a
participation.
certain way, I think that we should not allow these type of situations to happen. He is not allowed on school grounds by his signed DESI
Motion to
contract.
adjourn.
This will be going to the news, just so you guys know.
Good.
Is there anyone additional for public participation tonight?
So let's pause. There was a motion made to adjourn.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So we need to address that motion at the table here. Is there a second for that? No second. Okay. Moving forward.
Okay. We have some presentations tonight.
Well, I would ask if there are any other ones.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Might be someone wanting to come up. Hi, Mr. Zert.
If you excuse me for 1 second, Mr. Zert, I'm ahead of myself. Is there anyone additional for public participation tonight? All right, seeing no? Mr. Zert, please.
Hi,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Zert.
Hello. I'm here to,
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt just because Ms. Dessert did have in the packet the program of studies changes, but it was not on the agenda specifically. So if she is prepared to present those tonight, but it was not put as an agenda item, it was just under her updates.
Yep.
Is that, I just want to make sure that's allowable.
I believe so, for sure.
oh, well, let me grab that paper as well. The school improvement plan you heard from the three younger schools last week, and today will be the middle school and the high school, have enjoyed the first time doing a 3-year school improvement plan rather than yearly. And I just met with my school council right before here, and they agree with that. It's given us some time to really put some effort into specific goals for a sustained amount of time. Excuse me. Our first SMART goal was to support all learners, increase inclusive practices, programming, all of that in order to increase our MCAS scores. So over time, we have continued to work with our TNT testing and tutoring. So for students who are not on IEPs, they have specific goals and have help with that from certified teachers. We have created integrated classes. We have put in many electives. And I'll talk about more of that in the next one, and it has paid off. We moved from a 75 accountability rating to an 83 in 1 year, and we were named by DESE as a school, quote, of recognition, one of only 10 schools in the Commonwealth. So that was nice to receive. So doing pretty well with that one. Where MCAS is going is a different story. The second goal was to build academic engagement and authentic learning experiences. I particularly love this path. We started with think tanks 3 years ago. Last year we did a book study on 50 strategies for cognitive engagement. We had a lot of teacher presentation for others to pick up that pedagogy. We have explored senior capstones. We're looking, Terry and I are looking into innovative career pathways, many things in that. And this year, we're really looking at the vision of the learner and the mindsets and skills that students should have when they go out into the world. So that is our path right now, and that is going very well. A lot of in-house PD. Our last one is about absenteeism to reduce both excessive, which is 10 to 17, and chronic. We saw a great reduction in 22 to 23, and we still saw that with our chronic had really gone down, but our excessive has gone up a bit. So I was just talking with school council, and even with a new plan next year, would really like to focus on this as one of the mindsets and one of the skills that students need is that punctuality, that presence in order to be fully engaged. So we're working on some things for next time. Any questions on that? Do you mind if I do the program of studies?
No, please.
this time?
Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
great.
Yep.
Okay, so hearing those SMART goals, they do align with that. There are 4 classes that we are proposing to add. We added quite a few electives last year. This year, we would like to add AP Research. Last year, we added AP Seminar. It's a sophomore AP course, anyone 10 through 12, but it allows for our sophomores now to have opportunities to take AP. AP Research would be in the English department, and that would allow for us to have AP capstone diplomas. We have taken some of the music with a change in our music director and taken some of them out in order to put some in that would have high interest for students. One of those to replace music appreciation is music and film, TV, and video games. So students can get their mass core fine arts through this, but it also puts computers in there as well, not just, listening to Beethoven all the way to rock, but now being able to make it more relevant to them. So we think that will hold high appeal. Also excited for Build a Band. So that, in the past, Mr. Ledwith was able to, teach guitar or piano when his schedule allowed. Now we're saying, learn an instrument, come in, let's form a band. So that's one that I'm hoping has a lot of interest as well. The fourth one will be CAD, computer assisted drafting. We're able to fully offer that, kind of an engineering 4 at this time as we've built that pathway. And with the lab that we built this summer, we have the opportunity in order to do that CAD in there. It also supports our digital art. So the course drops are music appreciation, guitar, piano, computers and music theory, as these other ones replace them. We have some plans for the following year to have band and choir have the opportunity for both a college prep and an honors level. We do have some students who shy away from that because of their grade point average or ranking. We want to be able to offer that. We are finally taking American Sign Language out. As much as we really wanted to build that, it was difficult to do, and we have a very robust Portuguese program right now. So, it's not something that's completely off the table someday in the future, but at this point, we support those 2 languages very, very strongly. And 2 that come out of the business department are economics and e-commerce. While those are important, we're focusing on entrepreneurship, marketing, and business management as those major ones. On the back, it's long, and Terry Fleming will actually talk about this a little bit. Now that MCAS is no longer a competency determination in the Commonwealth, schools need to define how they will do so. And she'll talk about it a bit more, but we have created a statement that talks about passing grades in those courses that were and still are tested, but it can't be used, so we'll use that for now. Plans for the future may include finals or common assessments to do that, but right now, as schools are just putting this together, we're putting in an initial statement talking about it as a passing of a course. So, I believe this one does need a vote.
Yeah, we can, I have no problem taking it out of order. It is just a first read though. So we'll get it on a subsequent agenda item and we'll vote it then. Thank you, Mrs.
Excellent,
Hurst.
thank you.
Appreciate you,
Mr.
thank
Mayor.
you.
Thank you very much.
I'll fill in some of the, like, gaps too when I
Perfect.
do my report.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Jackie Francisco, FLMS. Wanted to report on our SIP, and Jack, this will be very familiar to you because this was yours for 2 years. So I'll go goal by goal, and if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and I will address those. So we'll start with the SMART goal number 1, which was focusing on active learning strategies, really getting our kids to use those higher order thinking skills. And we wanted to see a 10% increase throughout this 3-year goal in those active learning strategies each year over those 3 years. And so I've listed for you in the two-sider that you have the things, the evidence that we have that show that we were working on that. I'd like to just kind of have you kind of scan through those, ask me any questions if you have any, but at the end, I do comment there that we did in this year add something else to that. We were thinking about our students' ability to, post-COVID, be able to use academic language and their fluency with the use of that language across all content areas. So we actually added something to this SMART goal number 1, which we're calling academic conversations. So increasing our students' ability to use specific content language across all content areas. And so the faculty is doing great focusing on that work. We're also looking at purposeful groupings, and our evidence and our data supports this need for students to make their thinking visible during those active lessons through the use of specific academic language. So we are trying to kind of like boost up our students' ability to communicate effectively and make their thinking visible. At this time, we believe this goal specifically relative to active learning has been met. We will continue to work on active learning lesson planning, but adding to that aspect of academic conversations and continue with that focus on student writing across all content areas. Moving on to goal 2. This one focuses on an adopted school-wide rubric aligned with learning expectations for our school. So students were graded on those during the end of the first semester and the end of the second semester. These, as you can see from this long list of work that was done by the faculty and staff, were embedded into practice and are currently still embedded into practice, and teachers still do use these to communicate out to families. The goal has been met at this time. The rubrics and expectations are embedded in our practice. Okay. SMART Goal 3 involved a sense of belonging for kids and increasing that feeling of inclusivity at our schools. So we wanted to continue to focus on this in year 3, but kind of hone in on the way we do this and noticing our impact in actually measuring our students feeling more like they matter when they come to school. And so through a few different things, we've been able to increase some attendance numbers that we'll talk about in a little bit. But we not only have done the things that we've listed here in the bullets, but we're implementing what we're calling weekly wraparound meetings These are at the admin level weekly and also at the grade level. So I'm meeting with my counselors and assistant principal weekly, looking at attendance, behavior, and academics, and planning strategies to either contact families, work with students, have meetings, create plans, whether behavioral or academic or attendance, and it seems to be helping our students out and making them feel like it does matter when they're either not feeling successful or just not showing up as much, right? So we are going to continue to use those weekly wraparound meetings to do that. In addition, we have our team meetings as we've always had, but we've tweaked the process and the template a little bit to be a little bit more focused on those kids that need our support. We have an SLG focus this year that I'd like to talk a teeny little bit about. So we have been working with all of our teachers on identifying students that are just on the cusp of moving up a level in their MCAS scores and actually planning strategically during purposeful grouping time to try to push those kids through academic conversations to be able to make their thinking a little bit more visible, to make them feel a little bit more successful as they practice in speaking and then writing. We shared our data at the beginning of year meeting with all of our teachers, and we feel like we all need to own our data, and it was a really reflective time on that first day of school to be able to look at our demographics and our specific subgroups and see how we did and how we can continue to work towards improvement in areas that we need to. So again, we are going to continue to use that wraparound model in meetings to develop and implement action steps so that all students feel that sense of belonging and can achieve at FLMS. Goal 4 is focusing on reading comprehension strategies across all content areas. And as you can see from our bullets here, we have done lots of work in this area, and this year I will kind of just highlight a few bullets. We have a school-wide focus on academic conversations and depth of knowledge questioning across all content areas. So during faculty meetings, our teachers are collaborating on using depth of knowledge models to be able to ask good questions that evoke really good responses. You got to think as a teacher, if you want to get kids to talk with accountability, you have to be able to develop really interesting questions, or else they might just look at each other and go, okay, right? So good questions drive good thinking. So we've been working on those. We've also been doing some learning walks, which is exciting. And those learning walks are really focusing on the implementation of just this, right? This stuff, seeing how effective this is, how it's changing students' ability and comfort level as they are making, those conversations happen in class. We used iReady consistently this year to look at student scores. But also, we made iReady available to all of our teachers, not just ELA and math, but every content area, so that they could use the tools in iReady to be able to identify good working groups. So for example, iReady will take your student data and build groupings for either paired reading or paired work. And iReady will also make suggestions on how to boost student ability level in specifically for our accountable talk focus in reading and writing. So even if you were teaching art, you could use that iReady data to be able to build a purposeful grouping and then be able to use the supports that iReady will tell you per student based on their assessment that they might need in order to be successful. We we're in the process of writing a curriculum for the 6th grade ELA course called Literacy in the Digital Age. LDA is the acronym. It's that second ELA course in 6th grade that we are using to sort of juxtapose the skill building with ELA, writing, reading, using primary sources, and also our Google apps. So like, how do students use Google Slides effectively? How might they use spreadsheets effectively? Are they using Google Docs effectively? So that class really kind of balances those two things. And we're going to continue to do that to address this reading comprehension goal. That last slide I gave you just gives you a little bit of a feel for where I feel like we might be going. Of course, we'll look at data to continue to kind of inform us. But that goal 1, high quality, relevant, and rigorous programming for all kids, we do want to continue to implement active learning and accountable talk strategies. We do want to measure impact through learning walks and the focus. And we want to provide feedback, fostering an increase in those depth of knowledge questions and responses. For goal 2, the learning pursuits, we do want to continue to measure a common learning pursuit or pursuits or set of skills. We may tweak them according to where our need is. And so we would look at that as a team and come up with maybe a revised version of those. Goal 3, inclusivity and belonging. We really want to, I would say, redefine social awareness and belonging and importance in building inclusive community for all of our students. And you know, when we think about inclusivity, you know, sometimes we go to a particular thing that we think that might involve, but for our students, it could mean a number of things. So we want our kids to continue to feel like it matters when they come to school. And we want to use our wraparound meetings to identify concerns with attendance and provide interventions and supports. And I feel like we have been doing that a lot. Goal 4, the last one, around that reading comprehension and communicating our thinking. We do want to continue to increase practice in reading and writing across all content areas with that focus on accountable talk and academic language. We would like to use some evidence-based questioning in all content areas, and we are working on that right now. And we are starting to use, if anyone's heard of the strategy, close reading. It's kind of a pre-AP strategy. We're introducing that with kids, and analysis and strategic pairing. So thinking about students taking a first read, second read, third read of any piece of text. And a text could be a number of things, and then having them derive from that different levels of what we think that they can in order to use that evidence to answer questions. So those are our 4 goals. That is where we are right now. In addition to that, like I had said from our sense of belonging goal, I also gave you this little 1-pager with some information. So if you want to take a look at that with me very quickly, I've got for you both my chronically absent and my school year attendance percentages. So if you take a look, let's work our way upwards. 22-23, chronically absent, we went from 13.8 in 23-24 to 11.7. And this year, as of right now, our chronically absent number has dropped to 8.7. We feel like that is due to a number of things, and I'm hoping that I'm right, but I feel like it's due to our students knowing that when they don't show up, we are going to, hey, what's going on? Why are you not coming to school? And that all comes from those wraparound meetings. But also, we want them to be happy when they come to school and miss it when they're not there. So if we can make that feeling in a number of ways that, you know, we do to excite kids about coming to school, we are going to do it. So chronically absent, if you don't know the percentage, a student could be chronically absent if they are absent from school 10% of the school year, which would be 18 days for 180 days, right? So this would be a 9-day cutoff. So this is where they are right now. Okay, my school year average attendance is pretty close to, you know, where we've been in the past 3 years. I'm hoping to get an uptick in that in the next couple of months as we start to actually challenge students by grade level. So we went from in 22-23 to 94.3 to 94.8, and right now we're at 94.9. My goal is to get that in the 95s soon. I want to get 6th grade competing against 7th grade, competing against 8th grade, and I hope to kind of like involve them in that and let them know that it does matter when you know, if you're not here and your friend isn't here, that's going to, you know, kind of like impact their attendance. The incidents at the bottom, suspensions and days suspended, are also there for you. As you can see, 22-23, we had 737 total incidents. In 23-24, we had 870. In 24-25, currently, just about at the halfway point of the school year, we're at 395. And then you can see our suspension numbers and days suspended there that I've included for you. Okay. Any questions?
Ms. Francisco, if I could, hypothetically, if you were to have an incident that involved 10 students, would that be one incident or 10 incidents, like when I'm looking at this table?
It would be 10 incidents if you
Okay.
wrote all 10 up.
Okay,
So if all 10 got a consequence, and if all 10 were written up in any way, shape, or form, that would be 10 incidents.
okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Anyone questions for Ms. Francisco?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Just a comment, and thank you to all the principals for the school improvement plans. I'm hearing through the principals that they really enjoyed the 3-year process for the school improvement plan, so I'm hoping we can do that, continue that moving forward.
Yeah.
Seems to be popular. And then, I apologize if I missed this, they're all aligned. All the schools just ended the 3-year cycle. There wasn't a school that was off on a different, like, 2-year cycle. We all started with a 3-year, ended
Yeah.
with a 3-year.
Yep.
Because sometimes in Ed-Eval, people are on different years, so it's a fresh start next year. So good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have an update for our capital plan with Mr. Habib and Associates?
And just a little patience as our cybersecurity is tightening up. I was not able to open the thumb drive that was brought, so I just got the PowerPoint and I'll get that open for you.
Okay, please.
Thank you.
While that's happening, I'll just say I'm Steve Habib, president and founder of Habib and Associates Architects. And I have two of my associates with me, Leo O'Grady and Melissa Boynton. And we're going to present on the master plan options. We've been working on this for quite some time with you, and it's time to now take a look at what options have been developed for the master planning. So there are two key areas that need to be assessed and performed prior to developing any master plans for a school district. And those two are physical condition assessment, which identifies the types of repairs and renovation work that will be necessary just to bring the existing building up to current standards. Okay, so that's one piece. The second piece is the educational adequacy of the school building itself and the spaces within it. And that also takes into account the capacity of each building compared to the enrollment and the enrollment projections. So those two elements need to be brought together in order to develop any sort of master plan solution. So we did that, and we presented the results of those two elements some time ago now. We'll just quickly refresh our memories with respect to that. The first slide that's up is the physical condition assessment summary, and that's, I know it's a challenge to read, but the bottom line is, without adding for inflation, it's a little over $80 million, $82 million identified for work that would be needed to bring the buildings up to snuff, including work in the 3 phases or the 3 scopes that we use to determine that. And that's across the entire district. That's not unusual. That's not uncustomary. That's pretty typical for the school systems that we visit and that we spend time assessing. So the next area is the existing school capacities. And although you can't see it very easily, all of the schools have adequate capacity for the students enrolled now and in the future, at least as can be best projected, with the exception of the Assawampset Elementary School. That particular school, excuse me, when we look at the educational program that the district wants to provide for those students, when we look at that program and we build those spaces into the school, we find that we're short space for roughly 60, 65 students in that particular school. All of the other buildings have adequate capacity to offer the same educational program and courses that have been defined as being desired by the school district. So you're in pretty good shape there. Now, the next slide shows the enrollment projections. And what we've seen over time, I realize it's challenging to read, but you just have to take my word for it. The enrollment has been decreasing, not radically, but continually over time, and it's expected that that will continue. And that's not just a trend that we're seeing here in this district, but it's really nationwide. We're seeing that. There are certain areas of the country that are seeing increases, but this area of the country in general, I'll say in general, is not. Excuse me, so now we come to options. And we've developed 6 options. Having all that information, that allows us to then develop options that will meet the needs of the district. So we have 6 options. They range in cost, and this is cost based in 2024 dollars. They range in cost from $88 million to $263 million. And they cover a variety of areas. The least costly, and we're going to go through each one by one. Maybe we just flip through to the next slide and you can see that. Now, that is this campus that we're on, and it really is maintaining this campus, but adding some additional fields, some turf fields behind the building in the existing location that they exist currently. It also includes all of those physical condition assessment dollars that were identified throughout the district. So it's not much more than what the existing conditions identified. The increase has to do with the addition, excuse me, the addition of turf fields behind this building. If we move on to option, I'll use all 3 of these options, A2, B2, and C2. Now, these involve a slight expansion to the Assawampset Elementary School, expansion of 4 classrooms that would then allow that school to have the same educational spaces such that those 60 to 65 students can then be incorporated into that building, offering the same curricula, the same educational program that the district decided that they wanted to provide. The difference is, and I'll ask the flip again, and we'll get into each of the 3 options. Now, with this option B1, this shows a new high school in the upper left corner, the northeast corner. It's that purple area. And then using the space where the existing building is for additional athletic fields. This option also includes all of the renovations and the repairs that were identified in the physical condition assessment, and proposes a new building in that location with turf fields in the center of the site. The next option places a new high school building closer to the middle school and the intermediate school, and then moving the fields forward towards the main street, and expanded in terms of the extent of athletic fields that can be created in that location. So there are some decisions to be made. What is the direction that the school department wants to head in? I think that obviously that requires some close scrutiny on your part and some determinations up, but I'll open to questions.
Any questions at the table? Steve?
Sure, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I think you just presented between 80 million and 200 and something million
Yes, 263.
as options to develop a strategic plan. That's a lot to digest. I think we probably need to get that capital committee back together and talk that out, but based on your experience, would any of these updates or bringing these facilities, the buildings in particular, be eligible for some of the MSBA reimbursement programs?
Yes, some of those would. Projects that deal with roof replacements and window and door replacements on the exterior of the building could be submitted for an accelerated repair program through the MSBA. You also could submit for a core project, for instance.
Okay.
A statement of interest for, I would suggest, this building in particular would be appropriate. So there is some, there's absolutely the possibility of submitting to the Mass School Building Authority.
And as part of the document that you shared, or this presentation, which I assume we have electronically, do you make recommendations on that we could take back and kind of, simplify it for people like me to take to a capital committee, a smaller?
I'm happy to make those. This report was not intended to really make recommendations like that, but I'm happy to.
Because I do remember a conversation with a house doctor, and I want Greg to be part of this, on what the priorities are in the district in terms of what kind of the must-dos or things we need to address immediately. So maybe if somehow we can highlight or summarize that at some point, it might be helpful. I hope, Greg, I'm not talking out of school, but I certainly want you part of that conversation and to make sure that we have a clear picture of what the needs are, because that's a hefty range that you just shared there.
Yeah, in the facility condition assessment, I think it'll be relatively easy to highlight items, and I can do that for you, that we would see in conversation with Greg as well, that we could highlight items that would show what would be the higher priorities or what areas could be submitted to MSBA for funding through an accelerated repair project.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bob, did you have a question? Yeah.
Have you, these options all involve new builds, correct?
No, not, the least costly does not involve new build.
Are you talking about portable classrooms?
Option A2 would include a build at Assawamsett for 4 classrooms.
Well, that's a build.
Yes, but that's not all of, option 1 does not.
Did you look at portable classrooms?
Pardon?
Did you look at portable classrooms?
We did not, no. I mean, that could be.
Well,
In lieu of a
I know
build.
sub-districts utilize that when they have a small increase in student population.
It certainly could. We haven't tried to define how that would be built. Our role was really to define what should be added.
That would be a cheaper, solution short-term, wouldn't it?
If it's anticipated that it's going to be short-term, yes, that would be.
Bless you. Bless you.
So instead of being, in 2024 dollars, instead of being 98.7, it could be 94, let's say, or 95. It's hard to say how much the savings would be for modulars versus new construction off the top of my head.
Yeah, just Steve and your team, thank you for putting this all together. I really appreciate it. I think what it does is, now, mind you, I want to kind of state it public, nothing is imminent here. We're not going to the towns and asking for $88 million or $263 million tomorrow, right? Nor do I think the towns are in the position to be able to support that. But what it does do is it helps us get our ducks in a row, and really, you guys did the work that we most obviously don't have the time to do, which we certainly appreciate. So the sooner we can get our hands on this and start digesting it, the better off we'll be, but that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. I think you find if you go through the report that it'll be a lot more, a lot easier to comprehend.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure. So regarding the physical, any improvements? You want me to say it over here? Oh, podium, okay. So regarding the physical improvements, are any of them projected to, like, save money? So are there, proposals for solar panels, so we have, maybe cheaper electric bills? Or turf fields, I imagine, would mean like less water usage, like, is that built into your plan?
Well, it's not identified specifically as to what the potential savings would be from those elements, but those elements, I don't believe we have solar photovoltaic called out, do we? No. Not in the deficiency list, because we're looking at what exists and saying, okay, what needs to be repaired. But, roof replacement projects are going to save energy. Window replacement projects are going to save energy. Turf fields are going to, they're going to save money. However, the first cost is more costly, but they'll save money in terms of irrigation and maintenance.
Okay, well,
Steve, another question before we let you off the hook, and thank you so much for coming this evening. Was there any discussion by you and your team just regarding our pool and kind of the state of the pool and plans for that moving forward? Because I know that's going to be on the agenda tonight to discuss, but I don't know how deeply that was covered by you and your folks.
It's detailed in the report.
Yeah, in the facility condition assessment, the pool is addressed.
Okay.
And I think digging into that, you'll be able to see it. I did not bring the full detail
Okay.
to be able to call that out for you right now. but
No, that's
it is in
okay.
there.
Thank you. It's good to know that it's there, though.
Yeah.
And I think that assessment may have been done before some new issues developed.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to our director's reports. Mr. Higgins.
Yes. Thank you. This is a follow-up report from last week's school committee meeting, in which we updated the school committee regarding the financials for the month of January. So this is more around facilities and status updates in terms of some of the other committees. For example, Regional Finance Committee, the next meeting for Regional Finance Committee will be next week, January 22nd at 6 o'clock in the library, here in this library here. We will be at that point reviewing some more elements of the FY26 budget, which is progressing. Those conversations will be continuing, and then the presentation of that budget will be at the next school committee, February 5th school committee, the draft initial budget presentation. As of January 2025, the Internal Revenue Service has increased the mileage rate to 70 cents per mile for 2025. You may remember that we had a conversation about this in earlier this year, or last year, earlier in the fiscal year, when the school committee voted for 67 cents per mile to align with the IRS rate. At the beginning of each calendar year, typically, the IRS will determine the mileage rate for that year. We are at that time. They have increased the rate by 3 cents. It would be a requirement for the school committee to make that adjustment for those employees who are utilizing their vehicles in order to execute their work throughout their day, that they would be reimbursed at 70 cents per mile. The technology department has, as you know, is continually assessing the equipment, is seeking approval as a result of that assessment to declare items on the submitted list that you've received in your packet for surplus. These are outdated pieces of equipment that will be donated to an electronic waste removal company or disposed of appropriately. Most of these will be removed as recycling. So often, these are not usable pieces of equipment anymore, but the recycling company is able to take it without any cost for us to get rid of it through waste. We've had a few incidents over at Freetown Elementary over the last month regarding Freetown Elementary and the heating system. On December 15th, Sunday, a coil malfunction in a unit ventilator system located in classroom K2 at the Freetown Elementary School. This incident resulted in the activation of the fire alarm due to the steam that was released, prompting a swift response from the Freetown Fire Department. The steam and water leakage required the class of students to be relocated to another room during the necessary repairs and cleaning. We express our thanks to the classroom teacher, Ms. Erin Biggers, for her flexibility. She made the necessary adjustments and has not missed a beat with her instruction. A full report of the incident is included in your packet. We are expecting that the repairs will be completed within the next week or so, and the class will be back into their regular learning space by then. The installation of the new FES HVAC controls has created some unexpected issues that caused some uneven heating in the building, most notably when we had a cold stretch last week and the previous week. The maintenance team is working diligently to address these issues as they are identified. Some of these things are a result of, as noted, when the new controls came in, it started making the system operate appropriately. In which case, as one example, we have a damper system where outside air is pulled in when a room starts to warm up. Those dampers have weatherproofing around them. Those dampers haven't been opened in probably 10 years as a result of the control system not activating them. So when those dampers, for example, opened, those weather stripping, which had aged and cracked and become brittle, broke apart. So then when those dampers closed back, there was still gaps. And so cold air was able to be running back into the system into the classroom, even after the dampers were closed. That's something that the maintenance team has been addressing and working very hard to put new weather stripping on all of those and addressing other items like motors that have been in need of replacement. A full report of that is going to be, or well, I shouldn't say a full report, but an update report is being submitted to the FES principal and teachers, so they kind of have a sense of timeline as when they're going to have things back into a little bit more of a normal state for themselves. And then on the early morning of January 10th, it was discovered that the FES heating system had malfunctioned. This is causing the boilers to shut down. It ultimately required us to cancel the school for that day. The issue was identified as a malfunctioning mixing valve. It wasn't the boiler itself, but a mixing valve causing the boiler to automatically turn off. We are pleased to report that the valve was successfully repaired and the system is now functioning properly. So the topic of the swimming pool had been brought up in December. As you recall, we had a school committee meeting, in November, we had a school committee meeting where I had suggested that the school committee do a field trip to see the status of the pool. It was unable to make it work for the entire school committee, but John Burke and Courtney Brightman participated in separate walkthroughs in December through the Grace Pool area as well as the mechanical room. During those walkthroughs, I believe the visible elements of what the needs of repair were revealed. In addition, there was a short review of the information that we shared that I shared with you in the October 23rd meeting. We are, and as I shared on that October 23rd, we did have a consultant reviewed the pool a year ago, and their recommendation was for an engineering study. If there was, to look at all of the, ultimately, the elements that are going to be necessary if you want to bring the pool back up to use.
Any questions for Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, through the chair, just a couple of quick things. First, as far as the event on 110 goes with the closing of Freetown Elementary School, I just want to give a shout out to the team for how quickly you folks were able to move and make the decisions necessary and communicate to not only the towns, but our parents, and wasn't an ideal end result, but I just appreciate how quickly you folks worked as a team and got the word out. So kudos there to you and obviously Greg and his team. So thank you. And then on the topic of the pool, I do think, because the pool is a gem, right, to our district. Not many districts have the ability to be able to have a pool. And I do think when utilized correctly, it is a major plus for the communities, right? So before we make any rash decisions about whether to dump a ton of money into it and keep it open or close it and utilize that space for something else, I do think it would be best for us to have a full report. Just as far as the extent of the damages, what it's going to cost to get the pool up back and operational. I just think we have to do our due diligence as a committee before we make a decision like that. But just my 2 cents there.
I can say as one of 8, I did get a walkthrough of the space with both Jack and Greg, and fired away questions, and as written in your report, the components of the pool that were in need of repair were very obvious to someone not in that line of work. So it was very clear to me that it is in need of significant repair.
I do think, though, you make a good point with due diligence. As somebody who spent a lot of time not in the pool, but on the pool deck, I do see a lot of benefits of the pool in this community, but I do think it is fair that we do give some sort of a report or a full assessment on what the cost would be before we make a decision.
Anything additional for Mr. Higgins? Bob, go ahead.
I'm looking at the list, Jack. Are there any companies that buy broken computers to use some of the functional parts that are still there?
That is what the recycling company will take it off your hands for that. They won't, because that's how they're going to make their money. Because the cost of throwing these things away is not cheap.
I understand that, but I see in lead acid batteries, you could take it right out to County Road and get some money for those. I mean, I just hate to pay somebody or lose money on something that we could make money on. Although it's probably not a lot of money,
No.
but still, I understand.
Jack, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Steele.
All right, so Student Services Report. Today I'm doing more of a mid-year touch upon. I do schools kind of around the mid-year and then beginning of the year and end of the year. I'm not going to go line by line, but just as a summary, I'm going to start with Assawamsett. We are up 6 students. So on my report, you'll see kind of in parentheses up or down. That's compared to September. So where I started in September to where we are now. So we're up 6 students in special education at Assawamsett, and it's broken down by grade. FES, we are up 11. And you do need to remember that our preschool is at FES, so the numbers will be a little bit bigger at that building compared to Assawamsett at times. And then at Grace, we are down 3 students in special education. At FMS, we are up 3, and at the high school, we are up 5. So that's a total of 24 students increase from September to now. That being said, when we add in our out of districts and our other high schools, we are at 545. And then right now, on this day, we have 2,603 students in the district, 19.6% is special education. Numbers pretty similar to what I would expect, nothing really crazy from where we were before. Our out-of-district numbers are stable, so they were 35 at the beginning of the year, we're 35 now. We did have a couple of students, one had aged out, one had moved, but then we also had a couple of students that had gone out of district. So we're right at the same number we were at prior. And then I'm not going to go over 8th grade transfers. Those really don't impact us again until towards the end of the year when we're preparing for the 9th grade transition. But for initial referrals this year, our biggest number is elementary K to 3. It typically is. The total is 43. 24 students out of that qualified, 19 did not. At our reevaluations for students that already received special education, 50 students so far have been due for their reevals. 38 of them qualified, 12 did not. So total, an increase through initial evaluations last year for the whole year was 77. Right now we're at 12, but that's the slowest part of our year, so I expect it to grow a bit. Maybe, I don't think up to 77, but it will grow. We did have 4 additional move-ins, so that did add, and then we had some IEPs that weren't active yet in September that got signed, so it took us all the way to 24 total increase. And then our move-ins, we are 20 move-ins, 20 move-outs, so we're pretty broke even there. We have 6 move-ins since September and 2 move-outs in September, so we do have a bit of an increase if you're looking at it ratio-wise. And then we did have 1 student age out of district, so that was one that also had left us for that reason. And then evaluations in process, there's 47. So those are just initials. I'm not counting those as reevals. Those are the ones that we could be adding to our total population depending on if they qualify or not. It's important to note, I projected at the beginning of the year, I was looking at numbers and where I thought that we would end up being. And that was 581 by the end of the year, and right now we're at 545. So when I did my math, I'm kind of right on track of where I anticipated us to be at the end of the year. And then I can just go over some notes of other things. CPAC, I just like to give an update. We have a February 4th meeting. That's going to focus on home to school and school to home communication. I talked about some of this last week, March 4th. We do have a presentation on bullying by Dr. Carolyn McCurney. It's open to everyone, so anyone within the district that would like to come and attend that would be awesome. It's going to be right here at the high school, location to be determined, most likely the lecture hall, so I'm working on that right now. And then vacancies are the same from last week. So FLMS, we're looking for a long-term special education teacher from March till the end of the year. That is posted on SchoolSpring. FES, a one-to-one paraprofessional, and Assawamsett, a grade level paraprofessional. We did have someone that was just about to come on board and a couple days before had taken another position. So that was filled and then not filled. So we're working on that one right now as well. ESY is coming quicker than we really even realize, but we'll be posting in March, and then we're running July 7th through August 7th, the same 5-week window that we would do before, and then our buildings are all used except Assawamsett, and then we're doing ongoing regression data and talking about that at team meetings. Greg Goodwin was great to join. We have our special ed admin meeting every other week, so it's myself, the 3 administrators, Heather Ashley and Jen Seberg, and we meet and go over everything in special education. And so I've really felt it was pertinent to have Greg join us September, January, and June, because we have a lot of kids that have facility needs. And I think sometimes in June, we're like, oh, this student's moving to this school, and we haven't prepared for that physical move. So we're talking about it early in the year and taking those slower steps, so we're not putting so much pressure on maintenance to hurry up and get it done. So Greg met with us today. We went over some transitions from FES over to Grays, and then we talked about some high school projects that we're looking at down the road. So it was a really good meeting, and it was great to have him. And we're going to continue to do that in the future. So that's kind of the overview of special education right now, and I'll go back to building-based and kind of hit more schools once we focus on those. Questions?
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
Kelly, could you give us an example of something that you would need Greg's team to do at a particular school?
Absolutely. So say we have a student that may have either a hearing impairment or a vision impairment. Sometimes the recommendations through evaluations might be sound panels that have to go up in the rooms to absorb the noise. Or if they might have a vision impairment, it's sometimes painting the curbs or painting the steps or putting the tape on the steps for the visual, like, kind of identification so they can navigate the building better, door handles, things like that. So it's really about more of those sensory needs, but then we have students with physical disabilities as well and access to the playground and things like that. So those types of transitions.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Teal? Thank you very much.
So my report is 2 pages, and I'm actually going to start with pictures on the back. You can't see them very clearly, but I want to give a huge shout out to Lakeville Arts Council. Our frames are up and student work is in them, and we are so appreciative of their donation. And the frames that we were able to purchase are the frames that we can easily replace, and they're thick enough to have almost, there's some textured items in there, not fully 3D like clay and so forth, but there's some very neat student artwork in there, and the pictures don't do justice. So at some point, hopefully you can get in and see those. So we want to just again appreciate that donation. And then the remainder portion of my report has to do with competency determination. Competency determination previously was set by proficiency on MCAS, and now it is on each district to provide their own language for competency determination, with the highest need being making sure that we've addressed students for 2025 graduations. So I gave you just a kind of some breakdown of some research that has been going on with districts and some collaboration with districts, and then some language on this page. So the new guidelines are requiring that we identify areas that students are demonstrating mastery of the Common Core of skills, competencies, and knowledge in the areas by satisfactorily completing coursework that has been certified by the student's district as showing mastery of the skills, competencies, and knowledge contained in the state academic standards and curriculum frameworks in the areas measured by the MCAS high school test described in Section 1, administered in 2023, and in any additional areas determined by the board. So there hasn't been any additional areas determined by the board as of yet. So what we're operating under is the fact that the MCAS tests that were offered in 2023 were English, math, which included both algebra and geometry standards, and then science. The 4 options that were provided for science were biology, introductory physics, chemistry, and technology and engineering. So those were the areas that we focused on. Our curriculum leaders, district-wide curriculum leaders met and spent time brainstorming ideas, and then our high school curriculum leader team met and spent more time kind of drilling down into what was reasonable for the high school at this time to identify for competency, what would determine competency determination. In addition to competency determination, we follow Mass Core for graduation requirements. So it's kind of a 2-part, and as we started to investigate, there are some if-thens in a flow chart that you kind of go, why are we either double dipping, or why are we like hitting things twice under Mass Core and under competency determination? And I think every district is facing that kind of analysis of this language in their program of studies. DESE recommended that all districts serving high school students should develop a process that is aligned with the new language, is approved by the governing board, and is shared with students, families, guardians, and district stakeholders. We will make it publicly available as well. Then if you look at slide 5 on the packet, these are the ways that currently there are 17 districts that have committed a draft of their competency determination, and there's 5 different models being followed, with 3 of them being very closely aligned. Passing courses, English 10, algebra and geometry, and bio, physics, or engineering. And then other small adjustments to that might be including chemistry as a choice for science. Another small adjustment was passing both English 9 and English 10, which is one of those redundancies, because in order to take English 10, you have to pass English 9. So, it's language. A couple of districts have decided to add a portfolio alternate source of passing. And then there is one district that has raised their minimum grade to 70% in those courses, whereas our passing grade is a 65. There's one district that has like kind of jumped out there and said, we're gonna set 70% as our mastery. So after reviewing all of this and working with the team, we have come up with the language, and the first part of the language is really just reiterating what the state has come up with. It seems like everyone is leading with that information. To receive a high school diploma, students must meet the Freetown Lakeville Regional School District competency determination requirements, which are in addition to the graduation requirements. That's that overlap that I was talking about. As defined by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the competency determination shall be based on the academic standards and curriculum frameworks for 10th graders and shall represent a determination that a particular student has demonstrated mastery of a common core of skills, competencies, and knowledge in these areas by satisfactorily completing coursework that has been certified by the student's district as showing mastery of the skills, competencies, and knowledge contained in the state academic standards and curriculum frameworks in the areas measured by the MCAS high school test described in Section 1, administered in 2023, and in any additional areas determined by the board. That's just a straight quote from the change in the law. Students who have previously earned a competency determination through a regular or retest administration of the MCAS, including the November 2024 retest, or through a DESE appeal process, have earned their competency determination. Students who have not yet earned their competency determination through previous MCAS administrations can meet the requirements for a competency determination through the following competency determination. Receiving a passing grade in the equivalent of a grade 10 English course. Receiving a passing grade in the equivalent of Algebra 1 and Geometry courses. Due to the alignment that we have for Algebra in 8th grade and Algebra 1 at the high school, that will, Algebra 1 in the 8th grade will account for that determination. And then receive a passing grade in the equivalent of either biology, chemistry, physics, or engineering 1 and 2. So currently we run engineering 1 and 2 as semester courses. So in order to use that, they would have to take both engineering 1 and 2. So what this looks like is, and Allie Cassidy and I spent a good amount of time poring over our students' results, our current freshmen, not our freshmen, they haven't taken it yet, sorry, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and looking at them and saying, if these students passed previous assessment, MCAS assessments, they're green, right? That box is green for them. Then if they haven't, and they haven't passed a retest, then we would go to their, let's say they hadn't passed their English MCAS yet. We'd look at their English 10 grade, and if they had a 65 or higher, ding, they're green in that box. And if they hadn't, and if it was science, for example, and they hadn't passed biology, then you drill down and you say, did they take chemistry and pass chemistry? Did they take introductory physics and pass that? Did they take 2 engineerings? So we're looking, trying to, assume the best access for students to demonstrate their proficiency in the competencies for these courses. Moving down the road, Ms. Dessert referred to this, these courses listed will have common assessments. It would be unreasonable and unfair for us to have algebra courses running differently and having different scoring and different grading. So they will have common assessments so we can ensure one and another are operating the same. That doesn't mean their day-to-day instruction looks identical. It means that we're matching the assessments. And then administration and curriculum leaders, we will continue to monitor this, check the data, and look for their passing coursework through our 2026 graduates. Should any additional requirements by the board be given, we'll bring that immediately to the school committee and we'll advise any changes in that area. I think that one of the areas that could develop over the course of this next year would be the idea of a portfolio, so an alternate portfolio. That is something that most districts have not tacked on, but I think as we start to work together and people generate ideas, leadership starts to generate ideas, that could be one of the areas that I see our team developing for us.
Something like that, has it been more typical of a DESE appeal the portfolio?
So the portfolios can be submitted now, so we submit competency portfolios now for students that have not met proficiency. The appeal process comes when you submit something and it's denied or it's turned down, and then they could go through an appeal process. We have very few portfolios that have gone to an appeal process, and I would have to do a calculation. I know I saw at least 2 that were approved through the appeal process, but I didn't go through and count how many we've had over the past 4 years.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, what district has a passing requirement
Oh,
of
you know I'm
70?
not going to share that.
I'm sorry?
I'm not going to share that.
Okay.
Any questions for Ms. Fleming?
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. Grade 5 out-of-state field trip?
Yes. So grade 5 is attending the Museum of Natural History Planetarium for a 5th grade field trip. This is in Rhode Island, Providence, obviously, and it aligns directly with the curriculum, and the teachers have both a lesson, pre-lesson and a post-lesson that is tied to this excursion.
Move to approve.
Hearing a motion in a second. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Grade 5's going to Providence. Mileage rate increase.
As I mentioned in my report, the IRS has increased the rate from 67 cents to 70 cents. This will require a vote from the school committee.
I'll entertain a motion to
So moved.
accept the rate increase as presented earlier by Mr. Higgins.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you, Jack.
The next item is the tech equipment surplus that you received in your packet. Again, requires a vote for these items that are no longer usable to be recycled and or thrown away.
Move to approve as surplus.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you, Jack. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of payroll warrants for December 11th of '24, December 25th of '24, and January 8th of this year.
So moved. Second.
Motion in a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
They are approved. Books are circulating. Okay, and we're given a first read of the competency determination language. I'll have it added to another meeting for a vote. Okay. Moving on, subcommittee update. Regional Finance Committee. We are meeting next Wednesday.
Right.
Superintendent Evaluation Committee.
No updates at this time.
Okay. Wellness Health Committee.
No updates at this time.
Policy Subcommittee.
No updates at this time.
Capital Committee.
No updates at this time, but it sounds like based
Yeah.
off the presentation from Steve today, we're gonna have some work to do. Yep,
Outstanding.
yep.
Any business that may properly come before the meeting? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second. So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Thank you, everybody.